There is no question that the appearance of Sega's Little Blue Blur helped reshape the Genesis platform into a bona fide contender for Nintendo, at least in the US and Europe. Sonic 1 and 2 had been massive sales success stories there, bringing in millions of dollars in profits and making sure the Genesis and Mega Drive markets were here to stay. So when it became clear that Sega intended to make a part 3, it was a surprise to no one. But like the company itself, the behind-the-scenes story is just as interesting as the quality of the final product. In this episode, we are going to touch on some of those legends and take a look at some of my opinions on the game itself. I hope you guys enjoy my review of Sonic 3. If you recall, Sonic 2 ends with the Death Egg crashing into the atmosphere in spectacular fashion. Sonic and Tails had won, and the evil Dr. Robotnik had been foiled again. But as the Death Egg descended into the oceans below, it actually crashed into Angel Island, a floating landmass that was home to Knuckles, its lone guardian. Dr. Robotnik quickly moves to scheme and confuse the newcomer, making him think that Sonic and Tails are the ones responsible for the island's new troubles. Knuckles sets to action, attacking the heroic duo as they make landfall, and so our adventure begins. The earliest days of Sonic 3's development actually intended for it to be a 3D isometric game that used Sega's Virtua Processor, the add-on chip that eventually got used in the Genesis version of Virtua Racing. It was to be called Sonic 3D, but with the development of the SVP running behind, Sonic Team needed to completely rethink the project, returning it to a standard side-scrolling action title. Those initial ideas are what would go on to eventually become Sonic 3D Blast. With Sonic Team wanting to still make the third game something different and special, they decided it would be a much larger adventure than the previous two entries, with a deeper story, more robust gameplay mechanics, and vastly superior visuals. Upon initial inspection, Sonic 3 is definitely a much larger feeling game. Stages are huge with tons of nooks and crannies to explore. And it's not just filled with the vanilla loops that dominated the previous games. Here, Sonic has zip lines to ride, ropes to swing on, and tons of different platforms to help him get around a level. The 10-minute time limit is in effect, and I've run it out completely on more than one occasion while still looking around. Sonic Team also wanted to deepen the gameplay a bit, which resulted in the shield from the previous games being expanded and upgraded. You get your standard spin dash, of course, but now you get 3 distinctive shields that not only protect you, but also add abilities to help you out even more. The flame shield keeps fire attacks from damaging you and adds the awesome fireball spin dash. This allows you to jump and perform an air attack by pressing the jump button again. The water shield allows you to breathe underwater and bounce for additional height. This bounce can also be used as an attack. The lightning shield protects you from electric-based attacks and gives you the ability to double jump by pressing jump again in the air. As a bonus, this shield also has a magnetic property that picks up nearby rings. Also new to Sonic 3 is the Insta-Shield, which allows you a brief boost to attack radius in the air and gives you a second of invincibility. It's essentially your special move when you don't have any of the shield powers. Of course, Sonic also has access to his usual assortment of items within each level. There are 1-ups to be found, invincibilities, and monitors to give you 10 rings at once. There's also the heinous Robotnik monitor that powers you down as if taking damage from an enemy. There's also 2 types of secondary stages that you can play in Sonic 3. The first is a special stage where you collect Chaos Emeralds. This is a pseudo 3D sphere-like area where you must collect the blue orbs. Collect them all and get a Chaos Emerald. Some of these are really challenging until you learn the layout. There's also a bonus stage where you collect gumballs to score additional lives, rings, and power-ups. Sonic 3 also has numerous options you can choose for this new adventure. You can opt to play as Sonic alone, Sonic and Tails together, or just plain old Tails by his lonesome. Unlike Sonic 2, however, Tails can actually fly in this one by tapping the jump button repeatedly. Also new is a save system that allows you to pick up your game on the last zone you were playing. Interestingly, a look at the PCB reveals no battery like many of the other cartridges that could save back then. and is one of the first games I had ever seen to use an FRAM solution. Where Sonic 2 had aimed to perfect the formula from the first, Sonic 3 was trying for something much deeper, larger, and more impressive. Sonic 3 also has a few competitive multiplayer options should you be interested. You can race against a friend in 5 completely new zones, or practice them in a time attack option. Along with the new zones comes new music, animations, and dangers. You can choose to race with or without monitors. It doesn't have the squashed look of the last game, so the visuals come off better too. You can choose Sonic, Tails, or Knuckles for these races as well. Not the deepest multiplayer out there, but a great distraction from the single player story. The Sonic titles have always enjoyed a great look and feel to its visuals. They've been colorful, the backgrounds are always loaded with parallax scrolling, and it's among the faster platformers you could play back then. Sonic 3 continues that while adding some great detail that really gives it a distinctive feel. There's animation here that goes well beyond the first 2 entries, and the colors enjoy more shading and variation per stage. I mean it. Just compare Sonic 1 with Sonic 3 here on the first stage. Look at how much simpler the art is in the original game. There's just so much more going on in Sonic 3. This goes for your power-ups as well. Your shields have great animation, as do their secondary powers. There's just an overall feeling that so much more is happening in the presentation. Stage by stage, things get better and better. We go from beautiful green slopes to an Arctic wasteland in Sonic's finest looking adventure at that point. These improvements are punctuated by an incredible snowboarding segment where Sonic pulls a Strider, and some pretty incredible line scrolling effects in the second half of the game. Sega had doubled Sonic 2's 8 megabits for Sonic 3, making sure that some of the space was used for better graphics. It was, and Sonic 3 is easily one of the platform's better looking games. The history of Sonic 3's sound and music is truly fascinating. Having worked with Michael Jackson before, numerous sources have confirmed that he helped Sega make the music in this game. The story gets pretty muddy as to the exact details because the work went uncredited due to Jackson's molestation charges that popped up around the same time. Whether he contributed a little, a lot, or none at all, Sonic 3's soundtrack is pretty damn good. Each theme for the zones is radically different from one another, and there are multiple versions of that tune for each act. But as much as I enjoy it, I consider Sonic 2's soundtrack superior. While you will enjoy what's here just fine, there isn't anything nearly as memorable as the best of parts 1 and 2. Here's a bit from each zone so you can make the call for yourselves. I want to be upfront here and say there is not a lot to dislike about Sonic 3. If you have enjoyed these games before, the third adventure is solid and well worth taking. The only real blemish is that it feels unfinished, and that's because it was. As Sonic Team's time began to wind down, they knew in order to make the February 1994 launch, they'd need to cut the game in half and release Sonic 3 as basically a part 1 of 2. Upon beating Sonic 3, you are met to what amounts to a cliffhanger and are left with no real resolution. This is where Sonic and Knuckles comes in. Released only 8 months after Sonic 3, it's the second half of the game and the real ending. So in order to get the full Sonic 3 experience, you need to use the lock-on technology and put the two together for a full-fledged adventure. It's not a problem now that we have images and hacks that bring the two together from the get-go, but back then, you were paying $100 to see everything Sonic 3 had to offer. I also began to get a little bit tired of the lack of enemies in the late game. Your challenge here revolves around the navigation of the stages themselves, and enemies take a backseat as any real threat to you. The bosses are kinda weak too. I was really hoping that by the time the third Sonic showed up, we'd have both stages and enemies that were worthy of my time. Of course, the good still outweighs the bad quite a bit here. This is a great looking and sounding game with huge levels, and by the time you add Sonic and Knuckles, the experience is almost too big for one game. The save game really helps in this regard, and you can put in some serious time to see everything it has to offer. The multiplayer of course adds even more to that content, and you can always play the story mode together with a friend as well. Bottom line, if you enjoy the Sonic games, this is about as robust and refined an experience as you'll find with Sega's mascot. Some of you may be wondering why I chose to review Sonic 3 alone. Well, it's because it was released before Sonic and Knuckles, so I played it all by itself all those years ago. I wanted you to judge Sonic 3 as I originally judged Sonic 3. Did it do enough on its own to be called a classic? I think it does, and fans of the franchise should definitely give it a try. It looks better than the previous two games, has more to do, and once you know the layouts of the levels, you can really keep the speed up. Sonic had been a pretty important part of the Genesis success story in much of the world, and the quality seemed to stay high with each and every release. And that's saying something, because I consider Sonic 2 to be one hell of a good game. The only area I wanted to see changed was the importance of the enemies being a bigger deal in the stage design. So much of this feels empty of any real challenge outside of surviving the environment obstacles, and it had been that way for quite some time. Still, with gameplay that was fast and responsive, Sonic 3 is definitely one of the best platformers on the Genesis, and well worth the praise it received both then and now. Its reissues have slowed down in recent years, presumably because of the Michael Jackson music thing, but you can still get it on Steam for a $5, and it includes all the extra content of Sonic and Knuckles. I have always considered Sonic 2 and 3 the high points of this series, and I still feel that way today. They are both easy recommendations to anyone interested in the Genesis library. I'm Sega Lord X, thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you next time.